morning, ladies and gentlemen. I was going to say my names are, but I want to say my name is because I have heard Caro speak against that. It's sort of criminal to say my names are, but I understand that's how you know you're talking to a Kenyan when they say my names are. So my name is Francis Barasa Sindani. I am now an alumni of Centonomy. Most of the things I'll be talking about, especially what I want to do, I do not have a lot of experience in them. I'm just planning to do them. Probably some of the things I'll be sharing with you about are things that I have done, which were terrible mistakes. I will try and edit some of them because if I said them in raw form, a lot of you would probably want to walk out of the door from here because you would want to say, Chief, this is just common sense. You didn't really need to go to Centonomy to learn some of these things. But I can tell you for free, even as simple as they look, like it's a common sense kind of thing. And if you're coming here because you want to make a decision whether to go through this course, please just be making the decision to go through the course. As Caro just said, when you come out of that course, I think your life will not be the same again. I am where I am, basically by joining Centonomy. I got to what we call a reset button, you know. It's like factory settings, get back to the factory settings. So there are a lot of things that I have done before that I would have done differently if I had gone through that course about 5 or even 10 years ago. Now, I'm a trained graphic designer. I work currently for an NGO based in Nairobi, but working for Somalia. I work as a publications and design officer. I have some experiences working elsewhere also before this job. I also have experiences trying my hand into business as an entrepreneur, where I made all the mistakes and that I would not have made if I had gone through Centonomy before. So for me, Centonomy course is what I would say a must do, especially for young people. Well, I don't want to say only for young people because even people of my age. While I stand here, I do not know whether you can tell what my age is, but I can tell you for free that my last born, I don't know if she's here, she's in 4th year in university, so we are definitely not talking about me dealing with school fees again. So those who are planning the issue of school fees and so on, that is a chapter that's almost gone for me, unless she chooses that I pay for her master's, which I want to consider whether it is viable or not. I think she can try and handle that herself. Well, I come from Western Kenya. There could be a number of you come from Western Kenya. You might know what people from Western Kenya do or they don't do. Some of them are like myths, they're just stories. I know that from the area I come from in Western Kenya, entrepreneurship and business and so on is not very common. What people do, we love employment, we love work, and at some point, it is almost known what kind of jobs a lot of us do. At some point, I remember it was a political statement by one politician. His initials were JJ, and he said to another one, whose nickname is Kangumu, he told him something off about people from Western Kenya and the kind of jobs they do. And it was really hurting because I think they were not physically together, because you know what Kangumu would do to that kind of a fellow if he told him that I know your people simply work as watchmen and cooks. I think that was the statement. Hurting as it sounded, you realize that we are all here, some of us from that land. Yes, we do this job, A friend of mine challenged me and he said, Barasa, when you go down to any of these gates or you go through the courts around Kileleshwa and Renwe, and you find a guy standing there in some uniform, if you want to go through, just say Mrembe or say Kariya, you know. And I tried that enough times and it just worked. And the guy opened and said, Malay, sir, and he would open the gate for me and I go through. Stereotyping really looks like yes, but the truth of the matter is that most of those guys doing that work and earning probably 800, 1,000 shillings, so maybe with the new salary rates, minimum rates, I think about 5,000. Those guys have got some land at home. Those guys have got a number of resources that could be used differently. While if they love that job so much, they could still be doing it, but they are utilizing, the other resources that they have probably back at home in a different way. So I would even recommend that those guys, what Washeke needs to do is to do a course for them, so that you just select that team of people to come out and do. They just need to learn that they have other resources that they can turn around, and while they love doing what they do very well, they can still be earning money elsewhere. Now, many things that I would have done differently if I had gone through this course. Really, I'll not talk about them. I mean, I cannot talk about all of them because indeed there are many. The course that I've gone through is an all-round course. It's taught me almost everything I needed to have learned much earlier. So what is going to happen now? And since I joined this course, my colleagues, I've seen some of them here, I've been talking to them about Centonomy every other day. I'm sure some of them are wondering whether I've now joined Centonomy or I am a shareholder or something, and I am not. I can tell you for free, it is a conviction of some kind. I'm this kind of person who do not do things you don't believe in. I once told my classmates when we were finishing this course that if you took me into a room somewhere and started beating me up and said, Okoka, Imba, say something like this, or say hallelujah and so on, I would say it only if I am convinced and if I believe I have come to really convert and believe in what you're saying. If you don't do it, I am not hysterical. You're not going to shake me and have me say what you really just want to hear. Now, I am talking about Centonomy specifically because I have come to believe in it. Now, my behavior generally is that I like trying out things. Many things, I've really tried out many things, and this is where the mistakes were made. The trial and error thing, mistakes were made because there was no guidance, there's no background information on some of the things I wanted to do. From now on, the way I'll be doing them is totally different. I'm sure a lot of my friends have started seeing this. Some of them are actually beginning to suffer a little bit because I am this kind of guy who, after studying Centonomy, one of the first things we were told in class was to track our expenses. And I don't know how many of us do track expenses here. When you track your expenses, within a week or 2 or 3, you are able to see where your money goes. And there's a particular area where my money was going. Like I said, I don't want to share it raw, but where my money was going, was in a circle of friends, and we sat together every weekend. I happened to be privileged that where I worked, there was a facility where I could go into a duty-free shop and buy some stuff, duty-free, and preparing myself for every weekend. So I would buy something like for $16 every weekend. That is just what is going to bring the base. Obviously, there's going to be more that we spend after that. That's just to start off the weekend. Right? Now, this was even narrowed down to particularly on a Sunday afternoon. So that Sunday afternoon, my $16 would go. And on top of that, obviously, I became a very popular person with my friends because they would make sure on Friday or but they are talking whether we got something for Sunday. And every time we would go there and sit and whatever, at the end of the day, I realized consistently, like let me just put it backwards, about 5 years. we were spending that kind of money every weekend. Now, when you start going to class, you will realize that the story Washeke told us about here, that by just saving a small amount of money, like 300 shillings, it's the figure that you can do if you invest it is mind-boggling. When you join class, you'll be told about a lady who chooses to save 150 shillings a day. Now, 150 shillings a day, if invested within a certain period, say just, it's a long period, but call it 38 years, it would be about 12 million shillings. Now, if you think about that, come back to my dollars that we were talking about, that we are burning away. Okay, let's just put it this way. I was spending about 3,500 shillings every weekend. Now, it's only for me, not for my family, none of that. It's only for me alone. Now, I've tried to calculate. Incidentally, I don't like calculations. When we were in class, every time there's a lady who was sitting next to me, she was very good at calculations. Every time Isaac asked us to calculate or something, I would always look at what she's doing and then see if I could see the number and I can give the answer. That is me. I do not like calculations. But somehow I have started calculating. I mean, I'm one of those kind of guys, if you told me, Barasa, put 3 or about 16 goats and 20 cows together. Try and calculate how many pigs you would get. I might spend about 15 or so minutes trying to figure out. Now, I know a lot of you will not do that kind of stupid thing. You just really know that there's nothing like that. I mean, there's no mixing of goats and sheep to make pigs, you know. But that is the kind of person I am. I was not so good at mathematics and so, you know. But I found myself in a situation where I need to calculate. I need to think seriously about how much money I am spending. Now, I told you, like, from Western Kenya, unfortunately, one of the things I have not heard much about were stories. You know, the way you were growing up and you hear stories about investment and things like those. There's not so much of that. The stories I know about investment, and this is one of the exercises we were asked in class to interview somebody who has made it. Unfortunately, I couldn't get any of that from my previous. So what happened is the stories I've heard from Western Kenya, they were like, I can name one person. If you come from the Kakamega area, I think it was part of the Higa also before, it was one wealthy gentleman. And the story I heard was that he got his wealth because his sister used to work, you know, the kind of jobs I've talked about, used to work for a Muhindi. And then while I think the Muhindi was away, he was able to pick some kibunda, you know, like money. And he took it to the brother, and that's how the brother has become wealthy and doing all the things he's done. Such stories, really, I've heard about 2 stories. Nothing about somebody selling chicken and egg and so on and becoming wealthy. So basically, I would want to say I'm gonna do my things very differently. I just calculated and found out that I was spending basically about 800 shillings a day on wastage. I alone, without my family, without, and that is on something specific that I've just mentioned. There are many other areas of just buying things, impulse buying without a budget, things like those, which again would help you save money. It's through this course, for example, I have a mortgage. It is through this course that I was able to learn that the house I'm living in, it's a mortgage. This house I'm living in, for now, it is not an investment. It will only be an investment that I realize cash with when I'm disposing of it or selling it. But while I live in it, it's something very sentimental. It is only worth probably the rent of money I would be paying somewhere. For the whole period I'll be living it. Those are really key and important things that you'd want to go to this class and hear about. My life is definitely changed. I have many more things I'm going to do differently. Like you can see, I'm on loans. The only amount of money that I thought I didn't have was this money, realizing that I have about 800 shillings I was blowing away every day. Now, for the last 11 weeks. The 800 shillings, I have saved it. I have kept it. I can tell you clearly, like for within 2 months, that has turned out to be about 49,000 shillings. Yet I'm this kind of guy who has nothing on the bank balance. It's nil. It's always minus. Osheki talked about 200. No, mine goes in under as long as there are any other things. It's not 200. I had a credit card which gave me a lot of trouble. I mean, I have paid interest. I paid on this thing. The bank gave a debt collector to follow it up from me. Now, because of debt rescheduling, one of the lessons we went through in class, I basically faced the bank and told them, guys, look, you have taken away already so much money on penalties and interests. Can we discuss? Can I stop this thing? They told me, yeah, you should have told us before. They just stopped it and they told me, give us a period within which you want to pay and there will be no interest on those. And so I'm doing that. I'm just about to finish. When I finish that and many other things, just know that since this is a public podium, I am being truthful. You're looking at a potentially wealthy fellow in the next few. Thank you so much. So it's really, I thought it was a bit late, but it isn't late. I plan to work actively in another 10 years only. Luckily, I have finished school fees. Probably I will be finishing a loan on the house. Now all that money you can imagine that is going into these loans and so on, and now coming back into investment. If 800 a day can become 49,000 shillings in 2 months. So thank you very much for